If you're listening to this, I hope you already listened to my first vlog about my thoughts and feelings when I was diagnosed with DID. In that, I also stressed that my hope for you is to know you're not alone and there can be a lot of life to live after being diagnosed. So let's continue. I learned early in childhood not to trust anyone. Adults were abusers. So the safest thing for me to do was live in my head. When I was a little older, I was told, never speak unless you're spoken to, do as I say, not as I do, and my favorite, do not tell anyone about anything that goes on in this house. In other words, you better keep the secret. I suffered terrifying ritualistic abuse as a child. I was abused in all ways, including spiritually abused. I'm not focusing on that here because that's not the purpose of this writing. This writing is to let you know that you can heal from the abuse you suffered and the violence you witnessed. If your desire is to return to wholeness and your decision is to gather your parts together, I'm here to tell you that I found it doable. I could never quite get my life together, regardless of how hard I tried. Every time I thought I had it together, it fell apart again. Another relationship bit the dust. Another try at religion or any kind of spirituality fell by the wayside. Or another attempt at reining in my addictions failed again. All of those lost battles made it very clear to me that I was not far from losing the war. I knew I had to do something to get myself together. I won't belabor the topic of the sordid places I searched for that something. However, I will say that I explored and examined everything from the halls of organized religion to many a tome tucked away in the self-help section of the local bookstores and libraries. I searched everywhere I could think of to find some sort of balm for my soul. I had been hospitalized several times for alcoholism and drug addiction, recurrent major depression, and suicidal ideations and attempts. I was just clueless about how to live life. I was an active alcoholic and finally found a 12-step program, or maybe it found me. After a few tries and one inpatient stay, I finally got sober with the help of other sober alcoholics. I knew I had to drink, but I did not realize at the time that using alcohol and drugs in an attempt to blot out my terrible memories was just one more symptom of what was truly going on with me. I thought that getting sober would fix me, but after being sober for a few years and doing everything that was suggested by my sponsor, I found myself suicidal 24 hours a day. Sobriety was a great start. It was a good foundation, but I could not end my quest for healing with sobriety. I had to search on to find wholeness or I was going to die. With more than 3 years of sobriety, I began seeing my behaviors very clearly. I was losing time. For those of you who may not know, losing time is, for an example, going places and not being able to tell you where I'd been. And this was when I was sober, mind you. I was having flashbacks and seeing pictures of the abuse and what happened. And I was hearing the sounds and other aspects of the abuse. I was also having body memories, real feelings in my body that felt like it was happening right then. These things had been happening for some time, but I had no name to put on it or any rational reason as to why. Again, I just thought I was crazy. I was renting a room from a friend who was a psych nurse, at the local hospital, and she gave me a name and number. She said, maybe this person can help you. I've seen her counseling with patients on the psych unit, and they've gotten a lot better. I was very skeptical, but I was so down and depressed, I had to give it a try. The next day, I called the number. I reached an answering machine, but I was able to muster up the courage to leave the message. Surprisingly, she called back in just a couple of hours and advised me she was going out of town that weekend, but she said if I made an appointment for the next week, maybe I would feel as though I'd made a connection and I could maintain until we met face to face. I made an appointment, and that one step made me feel simultaneously relieved and more anxious. That was the first conversation I had with this person, this therapist I was about to entrust with my life's secrets. And you know what? She could not have been more kind nor more compassionate. I want you to know my experience with that initial contact. So if you're in fear about your first call, maybe you can remember that it can be a positive experience. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.